Hello everyone and welcome back to Jack's Game Room. Now today we're going to be talking about Snow Bros. It's one of Capcom's forgotten NES games. It released in... I knew I shouldn't have paid that bill. Oh, stop! Let me go!
Hey Jack, you never return my calls about our collab, so I just thought I'd come and get you. Oh yeah, sorry if I smell. Live action me has been underground for the last few months and I had to reconfigure myself. But look on the bright side, you're live action now too. Yeah, I guess I should probably take off your duct tape.
Who are you?
I am the ghost with the most.
That's your name?
Well, I mean, I guess it's more of a title. Shut up, asshole. My name's Luke.
Oh yeah, you're that guy that was in my comment section talking about how much you want Tom Holland.
Shut up! I've heard about what you had to say about whiskey from Glass Onion. Anyway, it is the Day of the Departed, so we're gonna watch the Ninjago Halloween special about Day of the Departed. Yeah.
Oh, is there, like, a game that came along with it that you want me to review?
No.
Well, you know I review games, right? If it's just a show, why do you want me to review it?
Nobody else was this easy to kidnap. You're weak as hell, dude.
Hey!
Anyway, let's watch it!
Wait, Cola's gay?
Well, hello everyone, and happy Day of the Departed. Thanks to the power of video editing, I can change from 2D to live action as I please. I guess I should say, for those who aren't aware, Day of the Departed is a made-up holiday in the world of Ninjago, and is also the name of a 45-minute Halloween special. From what I gather, Day of the Departed is not very well liked by Ninjago fans. It's not hated like Crystallized is, but I wouldn't really say people like it either. Mainly, it seems like people just think it's mediocre. I've always thought that Day of the Departed was better than most people gave it credit for, so I thought I'd watch it again and give my thoughts on it. I'll untie Jack a bit later so he can give his thoughts on it as well. I think Day of the Departed is the best Ninjago special. To be fair, that doesn't really have a lot of competition. The only other one is The Island, but unlike Day of the Departed, The Island was split up into 4 11-minute parts for whatever reason, and some people consider it a season. Just to get it out of the way, I think The Island is the most mediocre and boring Ninjago content that has ever been made. I guess you could also count the pilot as a special, but I don't really see anybody do that. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about Day of the Departed. We get this intro with the ninja in the desert, which is fine, I guess. It establishes that Cole has been drifting off, but that's about it. I'm not sure why the ninja are in the desert. It's never really explained what they were doing. They are just rushing to the museum to get lanterns for Day of the Departed before it closes, even though Wu was already there and he could have just bought them for them, but whatever. Also, this is the first time Nia does spinjitzu in the show, not counting the time she did it in Season 2 where she turned evil by the Overlord. She first became a ninja in Possession, and she didn't learn spinjitzu then for whatever reason. And in Skybound she learned air jitsu but didn't do spinjitzu in that season at all. Anyway, the ninja get to the museum, and we learn what the holiday is actually about. It's basically a combination of Halloween and Day of the Dead. People wear costumes and eat candy, and there's fun and festivities. But they also light lanterns to remember the people they've lost and to settle their debts. I've always thought this was really cool, and I've actually celebrated Day of the Departed in real life 2 years in a row now. It's nerdy, yes, but it's fun. I couldn't find any lanterns like the ones in the show, so I had to settle for this. I think it was a big missed opportunity Dragons Rising didn't have a Day of the Departed episode. Thanks to the merge, everyone was separated from each other. It would have been interesting to see Aaron and Lloyd celebrate the holiday and miss their families and tell Sora about the holiday. Just seems like a missed opportunity. This is also the introduction of Dr. Saunders, or as we would later find out, Crux. He works at the museum and everyone acts like he's a pre-established character. It's even funnier in Hands of Time because everybody has this super over-dramatic reaction to finding out he's evil when he's a character that was introduced a few episodes ago. Everybody sees the newly built Hall of Villainy, which is kind of weird when you think about it. Like a museum with a bunch of life-sized mannequins and monsters that tried to murder everybody is, well, it's definitely a choice. Each season gets representation in the Hall of Villainy, except for Skybound for obvious reasons, if you've seen that season. This is also where we learn that the Stone Warriors were destroyed after the Overlord was defeated at the end of Season 2. Dr. Saunders also mentions they have to unload mannequins of the Overlord and the Golden Master, even though those are the same person, but whatever. There's a special rare yin-yang lunar eclipse happening, which is magic or something, and by rare they mean it only happens once every 3,721 years. This eclipse is so cool, and I wish it was real, although maybe without the dark magic stuff. Cole gets pissy because he was turned into a ghost by Yang and possessed in, which is valid, although a bit weird. In Skybound, he was shown to have gotten used to being a ghost, so it's a bit weird to jump from that to this, where he's suddenly fading away and getting pissy about it again. Everybody starts to forget Cole exists, and they don't see him anymore, and through a painting, Yang tells Cole to close the circle, whatever the fuck that means. Yang makes this weird screaming noise for whatever reason, and it's actually kind of creepy.
Cole.
Cole steals an artifact from the museum called the Yin Blade, which is a weapon with much dark magic in it. We then get everybody's favorite part of the special, which is a montage of the ninja splitting up and going to remember who they've lost. Not only is this a great excuse for the ninja to split up in the story, but Wu also gives us a really great speech to accompany it.
We honor our ancestors, because if we never look to the past, we cannot envision the future. On the day of the departed, we pause to remember those we've lost. And enjoy our time with those we are still fortunate to have. I raise this cup of remembrance tea to you, Father. We never forget.
The music is so good. Ninjago has always had great music, but Day of the Departed in particular I feel like really stands out. I also love all the oranges and greens. They just look so good. And this is coming from someone who normally doesn't like the color orange. If there's one thing this special nails, it's the vibes. I also really like the suits for the ninja in this special. They're updated versions of the pilot suits. This special is how to do fan service right. The ninja go back to old locations, the villain mannequins have weapons from corresponding seasons, Pythor wears a robe like he did in Rebooted, and Dareth defeats the Stone Warriors with the Helmet of Shadows, but none of it feels like it's forced. It feels natural. They just feel like fun things for the fans. It feels like a celebration of the series thus far. There's no Skybound representation, but I really have no idea how they would have done that, so I'm fine with it. Cole goes to the Temple of Air Jitsu, which is flying for some reason. It used to be on the ground, but ever since Skybound's ending, it's been floating in the air for some reason. It's just some weird anomaly from Skybound's ending that I don't think has ever been explained, although I did hear this really cool theory. During the Skybound finale, when Nia and Nadakon are getting married, Clancy says this.
I hereby declare from here until eternity that this holy temple in which you are married shall stand the test of time.
That would be a really cool reason for why the temple is still floating even after the timeline reset. Cole tries to attack Yang with the Yin Blade, but I'm not really sure what his plan was. It's a ghost, I don't think that would have done anything, but alright, whatever. Cole accidentally breaks some weird globe thing, which, thanks to the dark magic of the Yin Blade and Yin Yang Eclipse, release spirits from the ninjas' past enemies from the departed realm, which then go to the museum and possess their corresponding mannequins. What? What is happening? Even as a kid, I didn't understand this. What is this globe? Also, Yang's plan was also very cryptic. All he did was tell Cole to close the circle, and he knew that would make Cole steal the Yin Blade and come to see him? What?
What? What's so funny?
This, that, all of it.
What's happening?
My plan.
Coincidentally, right as the spirits possess the mannequins, Pythor just walks into the museum. Now, Pythor is the only villain they could bring back from the classic lineup that was still alive, so they needed a way to do it, and they just decided to have him walk into the museum, not because he wanted to do something evil, but because he genuinely wanted to look at the new exhibits. That's Hilarious, and I love it. I've heard some people argue that this special undoes Pythor's redemption from Tournament of Elements, but I never really thought that. He said he was only helping the ninja in that season because if anyone was going to destroy Ninjago, he wanted it to be him, and they even say that in this special. To be fair, it has been a bit since I've watched Tournament of Elements, so my opinion on that could change. The villains all start speaking to each other, and I love this. The reason everybody loves the villain team-ups is because you want to see villains interact with each other, and the interactions are really fun. I love how Pythor happily says hi to Cryptor since they work together in Rebooted, and then him and Chen are really salty towards each other because of their history in Tournament of Elements.
Ah, Cryptor, my loyal friend. Chen.
Pythor.
Ooh, frosty.
What really sucks is this is the only scene in the entire special where the villains interact with each other, which is kind of supposed to be the whole point of villain team-ups. 45 minutes is just not enough time to do this really cool premise. A gnarly lunar eclipse bringing back the spirits of the ninja's dead enemies is super rad, but there's just not enough time to do much with it. I especially feel bad for Samukai. We barely knew anything about him, and he was the ruler of an entire realm, but then he died by the end of the pilot. This could have been a great chance to really flesh him out, but they didn't have the time to do that. The special doesn't even utilize its time all that well. Cole fighting the ghost minions in the temple really drags on. Now, to be fair, that is kind of the point. It's supposed to show us how Cole's getting really tired since he keeps having to fight people without any breaks, but it doesn't make for great entertainment value. I'm not sure how this could work as a season. I'm sure you could definitely make it work as one, but I personally don't know how I would do that. But either way, 45 minutes is just not enough. Do you want to know what's sad, though? The villains in this one scene are way more interesting and entertaining than the entirety of the villain team up in Crystallize, and in this scene, Pythor mentions knowing Cryptor, thus referencing Rebooted, but in Crystallize, Pythor never as much talks about how he used to work for the Overlord before, but I've already talked about that in my Crystallize video, so I'm not going to go on that rant again. Shout out to the designer of these mannequins who made a fully functional battle chair for Chen.
Doodle Pep Ninja!
Actually, now that I think about it, a lot of the villains have vehicles in this special. Were all these fully functional vehicles just in the museum? How didn't they even know where the ninja are? Something I just found out is that Chen's mannequin has gloves, but after he possesses it, it no longer does, and now I can't see that. Anyway, Yang tells the villains that if they kill the ninja with their departed blades, they will take the ninja's place amongst the living. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are departed blades, and why do these museum mannequins have them? I don't know. Not sure why they couldn't just kill some random pedestrian and take their place among the living and then go get revenge on the ninja. Not really sure why it specifically has to be the ninja. What's even stupider, but also kind of funny, is that one of them doesn't even try to kill the ninja with the blade. Chen just straight up tries to blow up Kai and Nia. The villains all start arguing about who they get to kill, and then Yang yells at them, which I actually thought was pretty funny.
Each choose a ninja, and
I call Zane!
No, he's my clone. Technically, you're his clone.
The blacksmith sprats are mine!
How come you get two?
silence! Time is wasting, and I've got my own thing going on, so work it out!
Chen gets Kai and Nia, Moro gets Wu, Pythor gets Lloyd, and Cryptor gets Zane. Samukai gets Jay by process of elimination, and Kozu gets to kill Dareth as revenge for him getting a bunch of children to beat him up in Legacy of the Green Ninja, which is actually pretty amusing. Also, Samukai mentions rock, paper, scissors, even though in Season 2 it was rock, paper, clamp. Wow, I'm really a nerd, aren't I?
That only leaves Jay. One ninja, but two of us. Okay, rock, paper, scissors.
I want him.
Yes!
I love Samukai in this special. He's so cute and funny. He's probably my favorite of all the returning villains. I really wish we had gotten to see more of him. Also, Pythor says this, and I feel like this should be a meme or something.
The Hall of Sidekicks. Convenient, is it not?
So yeah, some of the villains get sidekicks, and I have no idea where they came from. Were they also brought back from the departed realm when Cole broke the globe, or did the villains take the time to resurrect them or something? How did they come back? I don't know. We learn Yang found the Yin Blade when he was alive, and he tried to use his power to grant him immortality, and he's got his wish, but it was a monkey's paw situation. The blade turned him and his students into ghosts, forcing them to haunt the temple for the rest of eternity. With the Yin Blade in his possession once again, and the rare Yin-Yang eclipse, Yang will use their power to become mortal once again and escape his eternal purgatory, and the ninja will be too busy fighting their past enemies to remember Cole. Yang is a Ninjago villain that isn't talked about very much. Hell, I don't even talk about him that much. But it wasn't until my most recent rewatch of this special where I started to appreciate him. His backstory and motivations are legitimately cool. Had Day of the Departed been longer than 45 minutes, there's no doubt in my mind he could have been way more fleshed out, and maybe even have gone down as one of Ninjago's great villains. As for the other villains in the special, they're all mostly fine. Samukai gets a special shout out. It's really cool to see a lot of them again, but most of them aren't too memorable because of the short time period. Their fights with the ninja are also nothing special. The best one is definitely Pythor's fight with Lloyd, and I guess Misako too. The battle itself is not much to write home about, but it's the emotion behind the fight that is really great. I don't think this scene is talked about enough.
Can't hold on! Yes, you can!
Fool! You continually underestimate me! You're so like your father!
He's right, Lloyd. You're brave and noble and a master of spinjitzu! You are still with me, Dad! Ninjago!
The other fights don't really have much to talk about. Kai and Nia's fight with Chen foreshadows Hands of Time, which is cool, and Samukai telling Jay their fight isn't personal since he's just fighting him so he can come back to life, and he's just gonna release his parents right after he kills him is actually pretty funny.
For what it's worth, this isn't personal, Jay.
It kind of feels like it is, Samukai.
It's only so I can return. I promise that as soon as this is over, I'll release your parents.
Cryptor knows their jutsu somehow, and robots in the Ninjago universe have souls and go to the afterlife, but I'm willing to accept that information for how amazing Cryptor's death in this is. It is the stupidest death in all of Ninjago history, and it's hilarious and I love it.
I know your every move. I know how you hit. I know how you will kick. And I know you never give up.
Then I give up.
All of the villains of the past die once again, except for Pythor, who is the only one to survive the ordeal.
Time for you to call it quits!
No, just time for a spectacular exit.
Think he's gone for good? I hope so. But Pythor is as much cat as he is snake. He has 9 lives.
Next time, I'll take my own advice and bring some sidekicks.
I really feel like Misako and Lloyd could have just looked over the side of the cliff to see if Pythor survived. I think it would have been way cooler if Pythor's fate here was left ambiguous for whether he survived or not. But I guess it wouldn't have mattered anyway, since there's a canon Ninjago book called Pythor's Revenge, which takes place right after Day of the Departed, where Pythor is alive and well. So, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Pythor doesn't show up in the show again until Crystallized, and if you've seen my Crystallized video, you know how I feel about his return there. Moro and Wu don't fight, and Moro warns Wu about what's going on. Moro had a kind of redemption in possession, and this continues that, with after him warning the ninja, he willingly chooses to return to the departed realm, with him finally being at peace. It's been a while since I've watched Possession, but I remember his redemption in that feeling kind of half-baked, and I thought it could have been a lot better, but I do like how this special continues that.
Thank you, Moro. Happy Day of the Departed, Master.
Some might question why Moro was acting all evil when he was with the other villains, but that has a pretty simple explanation. He was just acting, so then the other villains wouldn't stop him from warning Wu. Although, I don't understand why he was acting all creepy around Wu once he got there. You could say he was just playing around with him before warning him, and I mean, maybe I could see that, but then why would he be like, you don't understand, I was trying to warn you. It's weird. Ignoring that, though, I still do like this. Also, shifting gears for a second over to the sets, I really like the Day of the Departed sets. I really wish I had gotten all of them. For some reason, Morrow didn't come in any of them, and the collectibles for the Day of the Departed sets were the Departed Blades, but there was no Sword of Sanctuary one because Morrow never came in any of them. Samuel Kai didn't come in any of the sets either, and his Departed Blade was just given to one of his lackeys. It was even like that in the poster of this special too. A long time ago, I bought one of these sets from a weird website. And when it came in, none of the bags were numbered, so putting it together would be really annoying. So, I never did. Maybe one day. Yang opens up a rift to become mortal again, but Cole stops him from going through and destroys the Yin Blade, causing Yang's mind control over his students to end. Cole stole that Yin Blade from the museum, so this special should really end with him going to prison, but we're just gonna ignore that. His students all go through the rift, and they are free at last. I wonder whatever happened to these guys. I don't think they've ever been seen or mentioned since. Would have been cool if we got a storyline about them readjusting to society after being mind-controlled and being dead for many years. We learned the reason Yang wanted to become immortal was because he thought the day he died, nobody would remember him. Looking back on this now, this is actually kind of heavy for a kid's show.
My students leaving me. I failed.
Yeah, you did.
I always fail.
Yeah, wait, what?
I dedicated my life to studying the martial arts. Alone. I got arrogant. I wanted to live forever.
Why? No one lives forever.
Because I knew the day I was gone, no one would remember me.
All of this was so you wouldn't be forgotten?
You must think I'm a fool for having such a petty desire.
No, I get it. Believe me, I get it. I know what it's like to feel forgotten. Alone. It hurts. But Master Yang, you are already gonna be remembered forever.
Me? How?
You created Air Jitsu!
Ironically, one season after this, Air Jitsu would be written out of the show without any explanation, so I guess Yang did have a reason to worry. On the one hand, Yang not realizing he would be remembered through Air Jitsu is really stupid, but on the other hand, I feel like that's kind of the point. It really feels like Yang might have some type of mental disorder. He didn't think he would be remembered even though he literally created the ability to fly. He even says in this special that he always fails. Obviously, this doesn't justify all of his evil actions, but I do think it makes him more complex than people give him credit for. Or I could just be completely overanalyzing this. Who knows? What's funny is that when Cole points out Yang is going to be remembered through her jitsu, Yang just looks so embarrassed. I don't think Yang's story is as good as it could have been, but for what we got, I think it's pretty decent. Thanks to Cole's kindness, Yang stops being a dick and says that thanks to the curse, it's required that one ghost stays behind, and he pushes Cole into the rift.
Come on! There's still time to go through! Both of us!
I'm afraid that's impossible. The curse of the temple requires that at least one ghost remain behind as master of the house.
One of us has to stay here?
It must be this way.
Hey! What are you doing?
Settling my debts.
Cole becomes human once again, and now he has this gnarly looking scar. None of the other people who went through the rift got a star, so I'm just gonna assume that he got it because he went through at the last second or something. Yang remains in the temple, but happier than he once was, and the ninja make the temple their new HQ. The Temple of Jitsu would be their home base throughout Hands of Time, and then would be forgotten about, which is ironic for Yang. I always thought it was really weird they just randomly stopped using the temple as their home base for no explanation. The only time the temple has been referenced since Hands of Time was once in Sons of Garmadon.
Don't you have a headquarters?
It's 2 in the open. The Sons of Garmadon will be looking for you.
Or at least I assume they're talking about the Temple of Jitsu. I have no idea what other HQ they would be referring to. Although I wouldn't really consider a floating temple out in the open, but whatever, what do I know? I'm not a ninja. We get a final scene of the ninja and company around a campfire outside of the temple, and apparently some people thought this was supposed to be a year time skip, and I can see why they thought that, because some of the dialogue kind of suggests that, but considering Hands of Time takes place right after Day of the Departed, and Wu disappears for a year, and then the ninja get redesigns in the Oni trilogy, this is definitely not a time skip and just takes place later that night. The eclipse is also still going on too, and thus ends Day of the Departed. Before I give my closing thoughts, I think it's Jack's turn for a bit. He isn't a Ninjago fan, so I'm curious what he's gonna think of the special. Take it away, dude.
So, as previously said, I'm not super into Ninjago. While I know a lot of the bigger events, I only consistently watch the first 2 seasons. Also the movie, but I don't want this ghost guy to hit me with a crowbar again. I'm just saying, don't take any of my opinions seriously. I'm no expert when it comes to Ninjago. The special was about what I was expecting. The idea of bringing back a lot of the villains from past seasons was very smart. I was surprised that this concept wasn't used for more episodes or specials. It is kind of weird that this museum has statues of all these horrible people. Also, Dareth assumed those guys were wearing villain costumes. That would be a very problematic costume. Having the holiday traditions as a plot device to get all the ninjas split up was also clever. I like how they all have their little families. I do have to say it's funny how everybody just forgot about Cole, like no one bothered to check up on him. My main problem with the special is the amount of time dedicated to Cole fighting these ghost ninja guys. I feel like if you cut all that stuff out, this would be like 10 minutes shorter. It's weird, this special could be improved by either being shorter or longer. Now I'm sure my kidnapper has covered all the complex lore stuff, so I'll talk about a part I may have a bit more knowledge on. The visuals. While a lot of what I'm about to say about the visuals applies to many of the seasons before the movie, I think they're at their most interesting here. I love how this special looks. The cold, empty nights illuminated by the orange glow of the lanterns give off mixed emotions of eeriness yet nostalgia, which echo the theme of the holiday so nicely. The now dated CGI of pre-movie Ninjago makes me so nostalgic for the early 2000s. The limitations of the hardware and the budget made it to where scenery could sometimes feel oddly empty and lifeless. But luckily, this special used that weakness in its favor. The deserted spaces help elevate the vibes of creepiness and grief. It is also interesting seeing areas at night you don't always associate with nighttime. The blacksmith shop has such a bright and warm feeling most of the time, so seeing it covered with the blanket of cold darkness of the night makes everything feel off. Same goes for the scrap and junk. While the redesigns for the cast were definitely controversial at the time, to say the least, the overall animation and style has improved in most people's eyes. And I can definitely see why, but I still think there is value and beauty in that earlier style. This older style perfectly captured what the LEGO aesthetic was at the time, along with a lot of design trends of the early 2000s. If the Day of the Departed is about remembering those who are gone now, I wish to reminisce on the design trends that Ninjago and many other pieces of media followed around that time. Even if I'm just nostalgically looking back with rose-tinted glasses, these design trends would impact the style of many growing artists. It's important to me to find the beauty in everything, even in the dark coldness on a night of grief.
Sorry, had to put him back in his restraints. Day of the Departed, it's no masterpiece, but it's not awful by any means. I definitely get why people call it mediocre, because frankly it is pretty mediocre, but it is fun. There's a lot of things in it that don't make any sense, but it has enough good things about it that I think makes up for it. Should it have been longer? Absolutely. But it's a fun Halloween watch for what it is. It nails its vibe, and I definitely think it's the best Ninjago special, even if it doesn't really have that much competition. I look forward to watching it once a year, every day on the Day of the Departed, because for me, it's a fun watch. Happy Day of the Departed, and happy Halloween, everybody.
Well, we're all done. Thanks for your help, dude. Oh, yeah. Again. Oh, God!
Well, I didn't really have a choice, but you're welcome, I guess. I am telling the cops.
No, don't do that. They won't let me watch Ninjago in jail. Okay, how about this? You get one free kidnapping of me later on.
Okay, deal. You can be in my video about how much Star Fox Zero sucks.
I like Star Fox Zero.
Really? You like Star Fox Zero? Freaks like you are hard to come by. And now for my final line. Ah!